Paul is saying that there's going to be a lot of people at the end of time who are going to get into heaven the same way a man is carried out of a fire and has to watch his house burn to the ground and realize, I'm safe. I'm coughing up smoke, but I'll be okay. But everything that I've ever had is gone. According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation and someone else is building upon it. What is Paul talking about? He's talking about his ministry. Paul has laid the foundation of his life on Jesus Christ. He says, let each man take care how he builds upon it. For no one can lay a foundation other than the one which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each man's work will become manifest, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each man has done. If the work that anyone has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. The point of the parable is not, hey, be careful because you might go to hell. We are saved by grace. If you trust in Jesus Christ, and I am a believer personally that God's grace is far more amazing than most of us give it credit for, that God can save people that you and I think he can't possibly save. So yeah, I believe in a big tent of salvation. That's not what this is about. Paul is saying that there's going to be a lot of people at the end of time who are going to get into heaven the same way a man is carried out of a fire and has to watch his house burn to the ground and realize, I'm safe. I'm coughing up smoke, but I'll be okay. But everything that I've ever had is gone. Paul says there's a fire coming for each one of us. And that's true of every person in this room. Every one of us is going to face a fire someday, and that fire is our death and the judgment of a righteous God. And when we stand in his presence with souls that are saved, the lives that we have built will be tested by the fire of that righteousness, and only what was meant to be eternal will last. And if we've built our lives upon things that don't last, if we built our lives upon pleasure, if we've built our lives upon financial security for ourselves and our children, if we've built our lives upon many things that are good but aren't eternal, then we're going to spend eternity like a man who's been rescued from a fire. Carried out by the fireman, watches his house burn and realizes, well, everything I've done is gone now. Is he glad to be rescued? Absolutely. Is he just as alive as the guy who didn't suffer a house fire? Absolutely. Is that good? Of course. But he regrets the choices he made. And this is where I think I differ from a lot of you. I do believe that in eternity there will be regret, even among the redeemed. You say, how can that be? I thought we were supposed to be happy all the time. The Bible never promises we'll be nothing but happy. We'll have the same emotions there that we'll have here. And I think we'll remember choices we made and choices we didn't make. And we'll think, my goodness, the opportunities I missed, the chances that I passed up on, the things that I wasted because I didn't invest in tomorrow, because I was focused on right now. Our souls are saved by the grace of God, but Judgment Day will reveal that many of us have wasted what God has given us. And that's going to be bitter fruit. So if you want the message of this parable in one sentence, it's this. This life is short, so we need to hurry up and get ready for eternity before it's too late. And guys, at the risk of sounding like a scaremongering preacher, tomorrow, it's going to be closer than it was today. By the time I finish this sermon, you'll be closer to the fire that's coming for you than you were at the start of the message. That's reality. So there's no time like the present to make these decisions, to start these new habits, to start these new patterns of life. And you say, well, why does he say, use your unrighteous money to make friends for yourself? Why does he say it that way? Well, because it's about using our money in ways that last forever, not in ways that pass away. The unrighteous steward said, I'm going to lose my present position, but I want to make sure that when I'm done, there is a home for me. There is a possession for me. I will have food to eat. I'll have people who are glad that I did what I did and bless me for it. That's shrewd. God is calling on us to do the same. Because we will all lose our present position someday. Every single one of us, no matter how carefully and conspicuously you have measured and judged and planned every aspect of your life, it's all going to go away. And what will there be for you when that's gone? That is the question. The first paycheck I ever received that wasn't from a family member, okay? Because up until this point, I had gotten paid for hauling hay for my uncle or for, planting corn for my grandpa. But the first time I actually worked for somebody else and got an actual paycheck, it was from a little grocery store called Elo's in my hometown. There's about 4 people in this room that know about Elo's. It's long gone now, but I worked in the meat market. I was a butcher for a month when I was 16. And there's a story about why it only lasted a month. This is not that story. I'll tell that another time. But after 2 weeks, I got my first paycheck on a Friday. I went immediately to the bank and I cashed it because I didn't have a bank account. And I had never held that much money in my hands in my life. Of course, it was probably $50 or something, but still, it's like, oh my goodness. And the next day, our 4-H club took its annual trip to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And so we went to the exhibition halls and we saw the sheep and the goats and the pigs and the cows and the chickens. And then we went to the carnival and then we went to the rodeo. Some of you are already ahead of me. How much money do you think I had when I went to the rodeo? Yeah, not nothing. It's amazing how fast those weird little carnies can take your money. I mean, they are good at that. And I was amazed I felt so rich at the start of that day. And then I'm like, wait, where did it all go? I didn't even have a big bear at the end of it. I didn't have anything to show for it. And that's the story for so many of us. The things we think we must have, the things we think that make for the essentials of life. And then suddenly the fire comes and it's all gone. And we think, I worked for this. I worked, this is what I put my life into. And again, we think, what the preacher's saying is, you need to save up for the future. You need to put money into retirement. Absolutely, good idea. I love that. But there's nothing specifically Christian about saving up for retirement. I need to get out of debt. I need to make sure my money's not going to the credit card companies. I highly endorse that. Again, nothing specifically Christian about that, but it's a good idea. I need to make sure that my children are taken care of. I need to plan a will. Good idea. I think that's a wonderful idea. If you haven't done that yet, please do it. It's worth the few $100s it'll take to sit down with a lawyer and plan a will. But here's something interesting. None of that will pass through the fire. All of it will burn up. Even the money you say you leave to your children and grandchildren, that'll all burn up too. This past year, we had the opportunity, Carrie and I, to redo our will. We had a will done when I was in seminary. We were first married, and Carrie worked for an attorney. They did one for us essentially for free, but we didn't even have kids then. So we knew we had to renew this. And the attorney who worked with us was a Christian. He pointed something out. He said, a lot of people don't think about it, but if you include your church in your will, then the government gets less of your estate. Now, that's true of any charity, but he said, what's the charity you believe in the most if it's not the bride of Christ? So we made the decision to include the church in our estate. Now, that's one more reason for you to keep me around, right? It's not a big reason, but it's a reason. But they talk about how the baby boom generation right now, the next 10 to 20 years, the United States is going to see the largest transfer of wealth in its history because this is the largest generation in human history. The people who were born from post-World War II to over the next 15 years after that, they said that's the wealthiest, largest generation in American history, and most of them are not going to leave any money for their church because no one's ever asked them to. They never even thought about it. But for Carrie and me, we said, this is an opportunity for us to invest a little bit more in tomorrow. Now, our kids are going to get most, of course. But even after we're gone, we have one more opportunity to invest in eternity, to do something that we'll rejoice in forever. So think about, what does it mean to use unworthy mammon to bless the future? Now, you might say, but Jeff, in the parable, the main character isn't spending his money. He's spending his boss's money. Exactly. Because in the end, we're all just managers. None of us own anything. You realize that, don't you? None of us own anything. But I worked hard for this. It wouldn't be there if it weren't for God. He gave it, he can take it away. You are managing everything that you have for a time. And all of us will have to give an account for how we managed it. And that sounds scary, but the exciting thing is we can lay up for ourselves treasures in heaven. We can do things right now that not only bless the present and bring joy to our hearts. That's what we've been talking about up till this point in this message, in this series. But we can do things that right now can bless eternity. And we'll rejoice in them forever. 1,000 years from now, we'll look back and say, that day on March 17th, 2024, 2,000 years ago, that's when I made a decision that I'm still reaping the benefits from, and I never will stop.